Hello everyone, my name is OzzyJtv and welcome to Super Auto Pets. For those of you that don't already know this game, this is an auto battling game where you create a team of fun critters to face off against other online players. So let's get straight into this. Assuming you haven't seen this before, as you can see you can basically choose from a choice of any of these 3 animals, each of which costs 3 gold. And every round you have 10 gold coins with which to create your team. At the same time, there are also items on the right hand side, like this pot of honey, that will also cost 3 gold, and you can equip that to certain creatures. So looking at this original shop, there's nothing particular that I like here. You have a cricket, which when it dies, it will summon a 1/1 cricket on top of it. You have a beaver, which doesn't do anything at first, but when you sell it, it will give 2 of your other friends +1 health. And then you have a pig that you sell to gain 1 extra gold. If you don't like what you have on option here, you can always spend 1 gold to re-roll in the bottom left. So for now, I think I'm going to hedge my bets with a cricket and then look to re-roll and see if I can get something better. Now, this re-roll is quite interesting. This has given us the option of a horse. Now, when a horse comes in, it's only a 2/1, but whenever you summon a friend, it gives it +1 attack until end of battle. Now, this can be really useful with the cricket because not only will it give +1 damage to the cricket initially, when you buy it, but then actually in combat it will give +1 damage to the cricket that it summons on death. So for now I'm going to buy 1 horse and then buy a second cricket, and as you can see the cricket gains an extra damage from the horse. And then just because when one animal reaches level 3, aka three of the same are bought and combined, what you end up is with a stronger version of the creature, aka I think for a cricket it will summon a 2/2 cricket instead if you combine 3 crickets on top of each other. So for now I'm going to use the other sort of feature of the game, which is the freeze. So what this basically does is this says I don't have enough money to buy the horse now, but I'm looking to buy it in the future. So I'll keep it there so that at the start of next round I'll be able to buy it. So with that, let's end our turn and go up against another player. Now, just before we do that, I just realised one of the most important parts of the game is, of course, naming your team, where you get an option of 3 different adjectives and then 3 different nouns to choose from. So you could be, for example, the Desperate Bushes, the Desperate Underdogs, the Desperate Eruptions, or the same for Amazing and Comedic. Now, I don't know what you think about George Bush, but I don't know if we want to go for the Desperate Bushes here or the Comedic Bushes. I think, we could go for either, but I think we're going to go for the Comedic Bushes for now. I think that will be a good name for the future. So as you can see, the Comedic Bushes here are up against Sobredo's Dry Bagels, which is another team. And he has a fish and an ant that we haven't seen before. Now I might have to slow down the combat here because that all went pretty fast, but the good news is that we won. So what I'll do is I'll just drop down these in the settings here and just change our gameplay. So you have an option to fast forward because I've played this before. I have sped it up, but let's slow it down now. And you can see we've actually been rewarded here with a 3rd cricket. So I think we're going to buy that horse that we said we were going to buy before, and now add an additional cricket. Now, you might be wondering why I don't combine these now. Well, actually, each animal is in sort of different tiers, so we've only been seeing level 1 creatures at the moment, level 1 animals. But once we get to every, odd-numbered round, you will get a next tier of animals. So on the 3rd round, you'll have the option for level 2 animals. Now, when you combine an animal, aka all 3 of these are added together, that will actually get you to the next tier faster. So if I wait till next turn, that will give me the option of getting a level 3, which I really want. So for now, we won't combine them, but I will stick the sort of more powerful one at the back. Then I will freeze this apple in case we want it, roll once, and then see, do we want any of these other options? I think for now our team's pretty good. We probably won't keep any of these creatures long term, but for now I'm just going to put an apple on the horse, make it a bit stronger, and then stick it at the back. There we go. And let's see what happens now. Let's see if we can keep up our win streak. So I might be able to explain a bit more of what's happening here. And to be fair, we can always press pause. So, as you can see, I'm going to put pause here just so that we see these creatures. So, first of all, they have some creatures we haven't seen before. In fact, we've not seen any of these apart from the pig. So, the mosquito deals 1 damage to 1 random enemy at the start of combat, which is this weird little, rolled up piece of paper that it's throwing at one of our crickets. Then we have a duck, which gives shop pets +1 health, only when you sell it, so it's not particularly useful, it doesn't have any benefits during the game. Now, I don't really rate a duck at the moment. They used to be very strong in previous patches of the game, but no longer. Then we have an ant. So when an ant faints, it gives a random friend +2 damage and +1 health. So you can see they put that in the 4th slot to basically guarantee that their fish is going to become a 5/5, which is obviously quite a strong creature at this stage of the game. And then similarly, the fish has no potential benefits during the combat, but when you level it up, it will give all of your other friends a little stat boost of +1 damage and +1 health. So with that, let's play. I mean, it looks like our team is definitely stronger with all of our summons and the 2 horses, and as you can see, we're sort of 2 for 1ing with most of our creatures at this stage, which is really good to see. In fact, I don't think either of our horses will even have to be played. There you go, 2 victories. So if we get to 10 victories, we will win the game, and if we get 10 losses, or 10 losses of our hearts, we'll lose the game. Now, it's not as you think, so you don't lose 1 heart per loss. Actually, depending on how far through the game, you lose a certain amount of hearts. So we would have only lost 1 heart at those first couple of stages, but now we would lose 2 as a sort of represented at the top here. Basically, it makes it that losing in later stages has more of a penalising effect. So, to show what I was talking about earlier about getting a level 3 creature, let's combine these crickets. And as you can see, whenever you combine them, they actually get +1/+1 to both their damage and their health. So we've done that, and then we've unlocked a level 3 creature. So the giraffe, basically at the end of the turn, it will give the friend a head +1 attack on +1 defense. So this is like a scaling engine that you can use consistently during the game. Similarly, we've got the flamingo here, which is a new creature at level 2 that gives the 2 friends behind it +1 and +1 on its death. And then a spider, which sort of joins in with our summon build that we've got going on the moment, where when it faints, it will summon a level 1 tier 3 pet as a 2/2. So for example, it could spawn a 2/2 giraffe when it dies. So I think both of those look pretty good at the moment. So let's get a spider and a cricket. Now, I'm not particularly married to any of these creatures in terms of the long term, so I'm not actually going to worry about what the giraffe is going to buff at the moment. I'm just going to roll and see if we get anything else that's interesting. There's nothing particularly good here that I like, so what I'm going to do is buy a meat bone, so we haven't seen this either, but it will give a pet a bone attack, which basically means it will do 5 more damage. So basically I'm going to make this cricket, instead of being a 3/4, effectively an 8/4. And I'll keep that at the front for now. I think that's fine. Arguably we could be worried about still seeing ants at this stage, which tend to have a lot more health. Attack, than they have health, but I think this shouldn't be a problem. We might be able to blast through any tanky unit that they have at the front. Case in point here being this fish. So this doesn't look like any sort of particular challenge of a team to face off against. Obviously, they've also got meat here as well. And there you go. Once again, our horses not having to do much. I think horses will lose their effectiveness pretty soon, but for now, we'll keep them where it is. So 3 new creatures here, all of which I don't think I'm going to pick up, but you've got a rat, which are basically, when it dies, it summons a 1/1 dirty rat for the opponent. So basically, this is sort of a walking body of stats that actually benefits the enemy team when it dies. Then you've got a dodo, which will give 50% of its attack to the friend ahead. So for example, if this was behind the cricket, it would start at the start of this turn, it would give 1 attack to the cricket, making it a 4/4. And then you've got the hedgehog, which is basically our worst enemy at this build at the moment, which basically when it dies it will deal 2 damage to all enemies on both your team and the enemy team. So with a sort of summon build like this, it's going to go through a lot of my creatures. So basically this is a bit of a rubbish shot for us, to be honest. I'm just going to roll straight past it, and here we have the option of upgrading our horse. Now I think at this stage we might as well take it. I'm not particularly in love with our team at the moment, so maybe we'll get something that we like here. And a second giraffe is honestly not that bad. We could just start buffing our other horse, our other giraffe, until we wait till the next round. And then with 3 extra health here, 3 extra gold, I mean, we could buy a cricket, but how long are we really going to keep this cricket around? I guess we've invested in it with some meat, so why not? What I'm worried about at the moment is this team does not really feel like it is scaling particularly fast. And we're going to need something more as we get into the later stages. But at least now our horse will give +2 damage to our cricket. So as you see, we're starting to get some much tankier enemies now. It's a good job we have that meat on to help blast through this, but I still think this is going to be close. If we didn't have that meat, this would definitely have been a loss. Seems like I was worrying a bit too much for nothing here, because as you can see, we still didn't even use our last 2 creatures. So it's going very well at the moment, really, all things considered. So now we've unlocked tier 3 animals, so things like the giraffe could just show up in regular shops. Now the first thing I see here is, a kangaroo, a very strong creature, which basically every time the friend a head attacks, it will gain +2/+2. This works quite well with summon builds because you're guaranteed to get 2 triggers here. One on the first creature and then one on the subsequent creature that dies. But I'm also going to show off that there is also an otter here, quite a good early game unit, which will give +1/+1 to an enemy, to one of your allies when you buy it. So for now, I think I'm going to try and slot this kangaroo in here, which probably means combining our giraffes, which I don't see as a big problem. The giraffes can even start buffing the kangaroo here and now. So let's do that. We've got guaranteed 2 buffs on the kangaroo because the spider's going to die and summon another creature, and then we'll roll and see what else we get. So we've got some more creatures here. We've got another spider. I'm not particularly keen in leveling up the spider because all it will mean is it will summon, I believe it summons the pet as a 4/4 rather than a 2/2. It might summon a level tier 2, tier 3 pet as well, but we're not going to worry about that. Then we've got the ox, which is also a good creature that works quite well with both the kangaroo and the summon builds. Basically, when it faints, when the friend ahead faints, it gains melon armor and +2 attack. So melon armor, you can consider it almost like invincibility for 1 turn. It's not quite that good, but it does mean that your creature takes 20 damage less. And then we've got a camel, which whenever it gets hurt, it gives the friend behind +1 attack and +2 health. So I think we're going to try and slot the ox in here. Even though we're sort of a summon build and maybe we can keep the horse, I think the ox is going to be more beneficial for us long term. So I'm actually going to get rid of the horse for this. Now, because the horse is level 2, it's going to sell for 2 gold rather than 1 gold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell that. I'm going to put the ox behind the kangaroo. Sorry, in front of the kangaroo, I think. And then what we can look to do is buff up this ox by potentially using a pill. And I don't think we've talked about the pill yet, but the pill will kill one of our units in the shop. So this benefit can become permanent. And then I think maybe we'll buy the salad bowl, which gives 2 random pets, +1 and +1. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, so I'm going to freeze it and then roll and see what we can find. So I roll here. We're seeing a turtle. So this works similar to the ox, but it's the opposite way around. So if a turtle is in front of an animal, then on feint it will give the friend behind it melon armor. And then we've got a crab, which will copy the health from the most healthy friend. So if I bought this now, it would become a 3/7 because the giraffe is the most tanky unit we have. All in all, turtles, while very strong, aren't really fitting into our builds at the moment, though we could sell the cricket. But now I think I'm just going to go through again, see that we don't really have much that I'm too fussed about, and then buy the salad bowl. Buffing the perfect 2 creatures for us, both the kangaroo and the ox. So let's end our turn, get a buff to the kangaroo, and start the next combat. So here we go against the Uncertain Mouths. And see, they've gone for the turtle, which could give us quite a bit of nuisance because it means we're not getting the benefit of our meat attacking this camel. And this camel is really buffing up the swan. However, we're at least going to trade with that with the power of our ox. And it looks like we're going to come out of this with a win as our giraffe beats out the bee. So we're doing quite well for now. The only worry is our team hasn't really got a lot of scaling potential. Some new creatures we've seen here. It's got a snail. So basically, if you've lost the last battle, this will give all your friends +2 attack and +1 health. So it would have been useful here if we'd lost, but having won, it's pretty much useless. And the shrimp, when it's sold, when you sell one of your friends, it will give a random friend +1 health. As I sort of said before, nothing particularly exciting in here. Here we've got garlic for the first time. Now garlic is very good. It gives a pet the ability to take 2 damage less on every hit. So especially in sort of the mid game, this can be very strong. We're probably going to buy this for the kangaroo. I'm just thinking whether we want to buy anything else here. We've got a rabbit, which basically whenever anyone eats shop food, it gives it +1 health. So if I bought this now, when I garlic to the kangaroo, it would become a 3/5. And the swan, which is just a generally good creature, which will give you an extra gold at the start of your turn. So sort of like a passive resource engine. Even though I really like the rabbit normally, I think I'm just going to go ahead and buff the kangaroo and pass. I am a bit worried that our team is not really getting much stronger. I do see a sheep here, so a sheep in a sense is like a better spider in that it summons 2 2/2 rams. So not quite better necessarily, but definitely interesting, and potentially we could think about getting rid of the cricket here and putting in a sheep instead. I'm just worried that we're sort of forcing ourselves down a route that we don't necessarily want to be in, which is summoning at the moment. I think that might be the case. I'm going to sell the cricket. This might be the wrong play and put a sheep here. Now I'm putting the sheep not at the front because it summons 2 units. So if we put it at the front here, when it dies, there'd only be space for 1 more unit. And then I'm going to roll. I think I'm going to roll. I'm going to freeze the garlic just in case. There's nothing here, but I'd rather use the salad and buff our other creatures. And with that, I'm going to end the turn, and let's move on. So here we see we're against a peacock, which is a new creature we haven't seen before. It basically gets damage every time it's hit, but thankfully we get through it pretty quickly. I think this should be at least a draw for us. Unfortunately, badgers basically have a nasty impact that they will deal their damage back to the enemy on your team. Thankfully, we have more than enough health on our other creatures. So, turn 7, we've unlocked tier 4 animals. So we've got a rooster here, which basically it will summon a chick when it dies, which has half its attack and 1 health. And we have a worm, which whenever it eats food, it will gain +1 attack and +1 heart. This is potentially a thing we should think about getting because it gives us some scaling. Now, in general, I find the worm to be quite slow, so arguably its usefulness is limited, but I think we've got the sort of stuff here that means we can use it, and at least it starts scaling us more. So I'm going to sell the sheep over the spider just because it's more of a tanky body. Buy the worm. I'm going to pair it, so give it +2/+2, which is a new thing we've just found. So this will actually be a +3/+3 because of the worm, and then also give the worm garlic. So you can see our worm has already become one of our strongest creatures. I'm now going to roll, see if we see something. Okay, we've got another kangaroo here, so we could start to think about getting our kangaroo to level 2. And then we've also got a deer. So a deer is a new creature. Basically, when it dies, it summons a 5/5 bus. Now, obviously, connotations of buses running over deers aside, that's quite a powerful creature because it has splash damage. So it can attack both the front enemy and the enemy behind it, dealing a maximum of 5 damage to the one at the back. And we've also got something called canned food here, which gives all current and future pets +2/+1. Probably something we should be looking at because our team isn't really growing too fast, so we're probably going to want to swap out some creatures. But for now, I'm going to freeze the pair, freeze the deer, roll once more, see if there's anything we like. There is a parrot, which will copy the ability of the pet ahead. So for example, you could put this behind the ox, and the parrot would also get the friend ahead feint, gain melon armor, and +2 attack. But I don't think we really want that. I think we're just going to end the turn here and maybe look to replace our spider with the deer, or maybe get rid of the giraffe, to be honest. It's given a nice passive benefit to the kangaroo, but it's not going to be with us in the long term. This is where I wouldn't be surprised if we start losing. We're probably going to come across some stronger teams here, and as you can see, that is a very strong turtle that the enemy has. So I don't know, I think this is going to be quite close. It does look like we're just about to be able to even win out of this, which is really good. We may be able to win fast enough that the fact that our team isn't scaling too much is not the end of the world. So as I said before, we're going to use the pair to buff the worm, and then basically the decision is, do we want to keep a 5/5 spider or do we want to keep a 4/7 giraffe? I think we're trying to win quickly, so I'm actually going to sell. I'm going to sell the spider actually, because even though it gives us the giraffe gives us less sort of in the here and now, it's closer to leveling up, and we really want space for that deer. So I'm going to buy the deer, I'm going to buy the kangaroo, and I'm going to roll, see if we see anything we like. We want the pair, because that was going to help us with the worm. And then we're going to roll again. And this is a very interesting shot. I mean, we get a level 2 deer at the start of next turn, which is great. And then we have the option for a bison. A bison is something you only really want if you have a level 3 creature, because basically if you do, it will gain +2/+2 at the end of every turn. As you can see, all of our stuff is level 1 here, so there really isn't much of a benefit. Now, I think this is going to end our turn. The only thing I will do is I'm going to drop our worm back 1, because the ox is going to get 2 triggers from death if the deer is in the front. Once from the deer and once from the bus. Now, we've got apple. We could keep the apple for the worm. I think for now we are okay. We're going to have to spend a lot of money next turn anyway, so let's just go into the next round. And this team does not scare me too much looking at it very quickly. I think we'll be able to blast through it okay. The only thing I'm worried about is that is a 15/5 parrot, and we have to break through this melon armor on it. So maybe this is actually a lost hella line. I'm saying I'm not worried, this is actually the first loss we've had in quite some time. Right, so there's a loss, and we're now at the point where we lose 3 hearts every time we lose. But that's not too unexpected. Our team is slowing down a bit, but this is a really good time for us to benefit. We can level up the deer, as we mentioned before. We can also level up the kangaroo, and this is where we start seeing level 6 creatures. One is the cat, so food with health and attack effects are double. This would work really well with our worm, because effectively it will get super buffed from any of things like pears and apples. Or we have a dragon, which will, whenever you buy a tier 1, like the otter, it will give all friends +1 and +1. So this is sort of going wide versus going tall, if you understand that terminology. And I think we're going to freeze the cat here. and look to use it next turn, replacing the giraffe to really buff up our worm. Just before we start, obviously, level 2 deer, it summons a 10-10 bus instead of a 5-5 bus, which will be really good. The other thing we could think about is getting rid of the ox at this point, at some point in the near future, but it doesn't seem particularly good. And just before we go in, I'll just show you, we have a crocodile here, which does 8 damage to the last enemy, so it's good at sniping low health things in the back. And then we have a scorpion, which, while it doesn't do anything, it doesn't look particularly impressive here, it has poison attack, which basically means it will insta-kill whatever it hits. So it's good to put it at the front, maybe try and kill a tankier unit. The only thing to note is this doesn't go through melon armor, so that can potentially defend against the scorpion. Right, I'm hoping we win this. I think it's still arguable that we will not, but we'll hope to use the cat to really progress in the next rounds. So as you can see here, our bus is going to go straight through that that fish, but it looks like we're just their worm is just far better than our worm, and we're going to lose out there. Okay, so that's 2 losses in a row. As I said, this is where I was thinking our team doesn't really scale very well, so I think now we're going to have to look at selling that giraffe, buying this cat, and now really just trying to buy as much food as we can here. The only debate is whether we want to try and think about getting rid of this ox potentially, but I don't see anything particularly good here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use sushi, which gives 3 random pets +1/+1. So with the cat it will be +2/+2, and just really hope this lands on our worm, and it does, which is really good. So that's a buff for the worm, and then the pear as well will buff it even more. So it's really starting to tank up now. Then let's just see what we've got. We've got another worm here. We could try and go for a level 2 worm, which will increase the speed at which it gains the benefits, but I'm not 100% sure that's necessarily the play. I'm just a bit worried that we're just scaling too slow. I will take the snail because we might need it if we lose again, and just try and do some sort of drastic pivot, maybe getting rid of the ox. We'll have to see. This might be the end of us here. We just don't seem to be getting stronger as fast as the other teams. As you can see, they're much higher scaling than we have at the moment. It's mainly this ox. This ox is very weak. I mean, the cat is very weak as well, but we did just get it, and it is quite slow. It does look like we may be able to just eke out the win here, mainly thanks to the buffs that our level 2 kangaroo was getting, which puts us on 8 wins. 8 wins is nothing to be sad about. We just need to try and push for that level 10. That 10 wins. Now, interestingly, we've got a seal, which would also go quite well in a food build. Whenever it eats food, it gives 2 random friends +1/+1. And we also have a cow, which replaces the food in the shop with 2 free milk. It gives +1 attack and +2 health. So I really want both of these, to be honest, but I don't want to have to get rid of my deer. So I guess it depends is how much we care about sushi. I think what we're actually... One thing is, if we sell this ox, which I think we're going to do, how much money do we have? We have 11. What I'm thinking is we could buy the sushi, which would get us down to 8. We could buy the cow, which would get us down to 5. Sell the cow to get us back to 6. I think I like this, so I'm going to use the sushi, like that. I'm going to buy the cow, so then we get this milk, which gives +1 and +2. Sell the cow, buy the seal, and then I guess the only problem about having seal and worm is they both want to be fed. I think in this instance, I'm going to feed the milk to the seal, and then as you can see, it gets +2/+4, and then it buffs our other 2 creatures. And then I am going to buy the last worm. I'm not going to freeze this snail anymore. I'm just going to hope that we can get this done. The only thing is where do we put the seal? I mean, it doesn't really do much at the moment. I think we'll just put it like this. Put some of our heavy hitters near the front and just hope they don't get back to our seal and our cat. Interesting, the splash damage that we have here is good in the sense that it will push through the melon armor, but obviously the melon armor is going to be reapplied by the death of the creature in front. So that wasn't even close, to be honest. They have a much stronger team than us, so we have to win back to back now, or at least get no losses, and try and push through. And I just think our team isn't going to do it. So pizza's a new item, gives 2 random pets +2/+2. This would be really good if it could hit the worm and the seal, but even if it's just one of them, that's not too bad. Unfortunately, we didn't hit either, so we're going to roll. See what we get. Now we've got a cow again, but the problem is, what do we really sell to put a cow in? I don't think there's anything we can. We could think about the apple, but I just don't think it's really going to give us what we want. I'm just feeling that we're just leveling up far too slowly. I'm going to freeze this garlic. It's probably... So we've got a snake here. So when the friend ahead attacks, it will deal 5 damage to a random enemy. Now, I think there's an option, potentially, getting rid of the seal, switching out for the snake here, just to sort of get some extra bonuses. In fact, we might go a bit crazy here. We're going to sell the seal. Gives us 6 gold, so we can buy 2 things. And what I'm thinking is the snake's going to get guaranteed 2 triggers if we put it in front of the deer. Because when the deer dies, it's going to spawn a bus. But what I'm thinking is, if I do this, we can also put a 1-up on the deer to get its benefit again. Now the only problem is now we have to be very careful because this is going to spawn both a deer and a bus when it dies. We're going to have to put something in front of it. So I think we're actually going to do something like this and hope that this snake can prove our salvation and get us some buffs here. The only other debate would be to put the... This is actually quite a difficult decision. I think we might actually put the cat right at the front. Because that way we still get to have the kangaroo behind the worm, and the worm's quite tanky here. So I think let's see how this goes. I think it's a bit iffy. 8 might be as many wins as we're going to get in this situation. To be fair though, their team doesn't look too terrible, but it also has that... Okay, well that is very bad. Obviously having our snake destroyed right at the start is probably going to mean we're going to lose here. Unfortunately, we don't have much to stop this. I mean, we can see though, we do have some tanky things at the end. It's possible that we might just be able to blast through, at least get a draw. Considering we lost our snake right at the start there, I'm not too concerned about the draw. The draw's fine. I wonder is, can we get the snake any stronger? So firstly, pear, pizza, I think these are almost guarantees that we're going to get them. Let's get the pizza first. Unfortunately, didn't land on what we wanted to. So we really want that worm. And we have to look at the tiger. So the tiger would repeat the ability of the pet head. So we could put it behind the snake. What I'm wondering is, what if we... This is difficult. I think if we pair this worm... I'm just very conscious that we're going to die next turn. What we could try and do is we could try and put the tiger behind the snake. Because then the snake will have 2 triggers at the start. The only thing is that means that we'd have to sell the cat, which I think we're going to do here, because it's, even though it's an 18-19, it's not really doing what we want. Freeze the snake and buy the tiger cub. Now obviously I don't want the deer at the very front, so I mean I'm just very worried about sniping with this. That is my only concern. I think we're just going to have to try it. We'll freeze this. I mean I'm just a bit concerned that if we don't make it through this round, I don't know what's going to happen. But we'll do that. We can get a level 2 snake next turn if we draw, which would be really good. I just think this might be the end for us, everyone. Let's have a look. We'll have to have our snake be doing work here for us to win. And as you can see, they've got quite a lot of melon armor, but at least we're going to be able to overwrite the melon armor with these buses. So we might be able to do something. I think we're not going to be doing it, and as you can see, we're going to go out there. But still, 8 out of 10, it's not too bad. Well, anyway, that is my first ever YouTube video, so I hope you enjoyed it. Just so you can see, we get some points at the end, and you can use that on customizations. So, for example, you can buy cosmetic hats for your characters, or you can buy backgrounds, and I think you can also spend real money on these as well. But with that, I'm going to end my first YouTube video. Thank you very much, and you might see me for some more Super Auto Pets and other such games in the near future. Thank you, and OzzyJtv signing off.